Just talk about Kindy.
No. Leaving this in now, because you said it. I'm literally sitting down. So, hello internet friends, it's episode number 173, but it's part 3. I'm sitting down with... Who is this again? Who's this guy?
Terran Gregory?
Yeah, some of you may know who he is. But, no, that's the beginning of the episode now, because, damn it. Even on your panel yesterday, you... had to name drop Kindy.
Yeah, of course we did.
And it only hits a certain note with certain people
that
know about Kindy. And you know because of the Warcraft stuff that I've been working on and scripting out, basically making like a Game of Thrones-ish machinima version of making the story from Tides of War and putting it in the war crime story to like put a lot of that back together.
Absolutely.
And then of course I have to kill her. You and I have that Kindy. Is she still your background on your phone at all? She was for a long time.
She was for a very, very, very long time.
Yeah.
Right now it's Lothar, Anduin Lothar.
Oh, okay.
Which is pretty cool too.
That's pretty cool too. But no, damn it, I'm leaving that in now. I'm definitely not editing that out. You had to bring up Kindy. I don't know. That's definitely a big project. But this also, well, before I get into that anymore, just so, because titling out of the way, Terran Gregory, my friend, what is your title now? What is your little moniker?
I'm a project director for creative development and story and franchise development at Blizzard.
Yeah, the story and franchise development. That's what I wanted to make sure.
Yeah, SFD.
SFD, because that's newish, right? Like officially newish.
A long time ago, it was called Blizzard Film Department.
Oh, okay.
And they rebranded it because it got much bigger than just the film department. You know, it started bringing in the video department and the sound department and the concepting division and creative development. Like creative development didn't used to be under the same umbrella as cinematics.
Oh.
It was its own entity doing the books and comics.
Right.
Cinematics was doing its thing over here, and when we brought them all together, kind of under one roof, Blizzard Film Department didn't really fit anymore. Okay. And so they rebranded it Story and Franchise Development to make it seem more like this is what we do, whether it's sound or music or concept art or video.
Well, and to go on the point that we opened with when I was talking to Mark as well, is that it's not just World of Warcraft.
No, it's all the properties.
It's all the properties.
Yeah.
That title.
And even just Blizzard in general. Like the video department is doing Blizzard's videos.
Right?
Like when it comes to just messaging from Blizzard, that may not even be attached to an IP. Do all of it.
And you now are mainly in charge of in-game cinematics, starting all the way back from the Wrathgate.
Directed, I think, all but one of them.
Oh gosh.
All but one of the in-game cinematics for World of Warcraft.
And your little first foray out of that recently was the Junkertown, right?
That was not my first foray outside of WoW.
Oh, okay. Was it?
What
was outside of that?
My first foray outside of WoW was in 2008. I did the Zerg reveal machinima for StarCraft 2.
Okay.
It was the first time we saw the Zerg race. At the end, there's like a queen standing there with eggs, and then the field of eggs behind her, and then all the mutalisks fly in.
Oh, okay.
That was an interesting trial because we were working with the StarCraft 2 level editor right when StarCraft 2 was really just in its early development.
Oh, so wow.
That was a unique trick. Like we had to record it at like really, really low frame rate and like slow everything down to make sure that we then sped it up to make it play smoothly, because that early in development, I mean, optimization of course comes and make sure the early builds tend to, you know, so there's all these tricks that you had to do to work with it, but that was the first one. My next foray outside of WoW would have been the Demon Hunter reveal for Diablo 3 in 2010 at BlizzCon.
Oh, okay.
You know, I am the hunter. Boom.
Okay.
That was fun. Did that one with Team Diablo. And then I did a few Heroes of the Storms pieces. I directed the Is it Magni? Yeah. Right?
Magni Bronzebeard?
Magni Bronzebeard.
His little in-games, because those are also classified in the same realm of the like in-game cutscenes, right?
It wasn't Magni. He has a Magni skin, but it was Bran.
Oh, Bran? No.
Who's the other brother?
Muradin. Oh, that's right.
I'm just blanking. It's all the dwarves.
It's all the damn.
Because in the movie, we do a flash to Magni, and he's like drinking. So it just jumped into my mind. I'm like, no, it wasn't his trailer. It was Muradin's trailer. So I did that one. I worked a little bit on the murky one.
Shout out to David for the PR there. Thank you. Doing his job.
And then I did the Chromie one for Heroes of the Storm.
Yes. That's right, because I gave you a whole bunch of... Because you put in the fire girl burning meme shot. Yeah, that's right. That's totally right. Oh, man.
And then Junkertown. And yeah, those are my individual forays outside. But between all of those, it's just been nonstop all the way since patch 2.1, Black Temple trailer, Wrath Gate,
Oh, gosh.
Fall of the Lich.
I remember the temple.
I remember the temple that it used to be a place of worship.
There it is. Yeah.
And then Fall of the Lich King, the trailer, let them come.
Oh, yeah.
Frostmourne hungers. All that stuff.
You should have done the voice work for those.
Yeah. Do the temp voice work sometimes. Sometimes doing temp voice work as an orc, you get so into it. Actually, like pull some muscles. Yeah. I once pulled a muscle so hard. I think I was doing Gromosh Hellscream temp. Oh no! When it was like kill rogue, and I sorry, the guys next door are probably wondering what's going on right now. Apologies. But I literally pulled a muscle in my back when I was doing that, and I was like limping around for a week, and everyone's like, "What were you doing? Like, were you doing like heavy lifting?" I was like, just orc voices, it's cool.
Well, and I have to give you the accolades for the fact that the way that the Junkertown song was cadenced is part and parcel, if not all, because of you.
Well, Junkertown, I actually pitched the whole concept of the movie to the Overwatch team, including Jeff Kaplan.
Oh, gosh.
Shocker.
How nervous were you for that?
And Michael Chu. They were all in the room, and I got up and I acted the whole movie out. From beginning to end.
Was that recorded anywhere?
We all wish that we had recorded it.
Oh, come on.
It should have been committed to tape. But I'm in front of him in the room, and it begins with, well, that's a fine, how do you do? As he gets thrown onto the ground, and he went all the way through, I've got an idea! And then in the pitch, I would actually say, and then the title cards start flying on the screen, and it starts going, gotta get money, gotta get moms, gotta get home. I'm trying to be quieter now because I know there's people over there.
I should have had your interview first.
Otherwise, I'd be blasting it.
Because no one was, that one was open before when it was just Mark and I.
But that was all part of the pitch, and the song, as it ended up in the movie, ended up way closer than I expected. I was like, wait, guys, no, we were supposed to take the idea and make it into a different song, but they didn't. They just used it, and I guess it was pretty...
Oh, no. Gosh,
but the sound department did a great, wonderful job, actually bringing all the instrumentation together and the guitars, and Adam Burgess worked on that one. He really made it sound awesome.
It's funny that you bring up the sound department again, from a fledgling director to an actual real director, because you have published pieces. So I brought the thing up Mark, and he was talking about Neil Acree. And he said that they both had this handoff moment where Mark said that everything that he did and his emotion in his pieces is because of Neil.
Oh, of course.
But then Neil said, my music would be nothing without your visuals.
Right. It's just like the Ysera death, right?
So dorky.
People talk about Ysera, and I'm like, have you ever watched that muted? You mute it and you watch it, it's still going to get you in the feel.
Just the music?
Right? No,
just the visuals.
You mute
it,
and then watch the visuals, and you'll feel it, right? You unmute it and watch again. It's the music. It's like it's 200. It's this modulator that just amps it 300%.
Yeah, that's because I asked about that because we just talked about Lost Honor, and of course with Old Soldier before that, and then the Warbringers have their music tracks online now on the WoW Spotify.
Available on Spotify and iTunes.
But then, is that going to be a thing to keep moving forward on other pieces?
I'm not sure.
Because those need to be out there for us to listen to, because there's just that can't just be in that one medium, because I would love to listen to the score behind this or the score behind Lost Honor by itself, just to hear how they paint their musical picture to your visuals. That would just, because again, we know that our mind theaters see this stuff.
Right.
Our mind theaters don't see the colors and the ambient and the music like theirs does.
And we love their work, and we love when we're able to provide that work in the mediums that people want to get. So
Mark said that he thinks Neil's an alien.
He works harder than anyone I have ever worked with. He is a magical musical robot that was sent from the Nether Sphere.
So you think he's a robot
to make magical things for us.
So David, let's get Neil on the interview Neil now.
You absolutely should. He's an amazing person.
Oh man, that's so good. But so Terror of Darkshore.
Terror of Darkshore.
First off, for those that are watching, I had planned, and we had gotten these sort of penned up together, and I was going to talk about the Thros cinematic. And I was standing at the opening ceremony and everything else like that, and then when it's pitched, I think Jemmy was up at the time when he pitched this, because he was going over the patch stuff.
Right.
And he just kind of backs away from the screen, and I was like, we already watched Terran? So they wanted to give us the patch trailer. And
when you thought we were done.
And then we get...
Another one's in the canister.
Yeah, and we get this.
All of it. The entire shipment. down to the last sack of...
That's just an orc, right? That's not Shokia?
No. Her name is Shendruk.
Okay.
She was created for this this cutscene. We imagined that this is someone who's been actually probably a soldier on the battle lines in this region.
Okay.
Between like the orcish line of going into Ashenvale.
Like the Warsong Hold into
Ashenvale and
Darkshore.
whatnot.
Yeah, okay.
She's probably a character who's been there, right?
Okay.
And has had some experience. And I know that there's been some conversation about the way she talks about Night Elves. I'm like, part and parcel, right? When you're not talking about game mechanics, right? We know that Night Elves are insanely powerful, but part and parcel, if you lived in this world, there are going to be a lot of Night Elves in that forest that are just civilians, right?
Right.
And when she's been like patrolling that area, by and large, she's probably only witnessed, conflicts between the normal
Lower
Night Elves,
level Night Elves,
the ones who just live. He would have never encountered the Archdruid. He would have never encountered, right? So a lot of her impressions are just based on like, I've seen, I've had scuffles with Night Elves for however many years and never had any trouble with them, right?
Yeah,
because they're not all badass Archdruids, right?
They're not. But that's the one thing I thought of when I first saw her, and I was wondering, because Shoki also had an eye patch.
Sure.
She was the sniper in the Warcrime story, whatever, that kills Jaina. Spoiler alert, they have a Warcrime. Jaina dies.
Spoiler alert.
Jaina dies in Warcrimes. Shoki shoots her through the back of the chest, and but I didn't know, so I was just curious.
No, we just need an awesome orcish lieutenant.
One's the only survivor.
I want to talk about eyes, because we're gonna see Malfurion's eyes here in a little bit as well. There is a very different look you have when you have an eye like Nathanos that actually has like a pupil and iris behind it, whereas the Night Elves have nothing.
Sure.
So do you find that difficult, because we've geeked out before back in Germany and other things with like the Illidan cinematics recently and how much you can tell, and I talked about Mark this too with the Anduin stuff.
Sure.
How much you can just say with eye movement.
Of course.
And you can do that with characters that have eyes and whatnot.
Right,
but
even if there's a loosely defined pupil, you can still tell.
Even in the Black Hand Battle of Shatrath, you had that a little bit.
Right.
But this versus Malfurion, Night Elves have nothing. They just have glowing holes in their face.
Yeah, the Draenei border on the edge, right? Like,
yeah, they do.
Draenei are mostly kind of that white alienish, But actually, in the cinematics, we did add a little bit of an indication that helped.
There's like a halo on the outside.
There's like a little ring where you're like, I can kind of tell where they're looking. But in the case of the Night Elves, like Malfurion, it's really the animators doing an incredible job, because even without the pupil, there's shape language. That occurs using the upper lid and the lower lid, that if you just bias it just in the right shape, it still conveys which direction it looks, how it expresses it, and while it's a little trickier, they almost always pull it off, right?
Well, that's the one. I wanted to go back that frame here. I'm on the volume. Get out of here. So with in-game machinima and stuff, and not having the same, or not using the same tools, I guess, that the hyper-realistic folks are doing. And there are some simulations in this, and I want to bring up the other one that I found out about that I want to confirm in this, but Cloth, is that all hand animated?
Yes.
So you're not doing... That's so... Everything, just walking his walk, and obviously the flat in the tent.
Yeah.
All the weight is all just hand...
Those are all driven by animated keys.
Oh my goodness, man. That's... I don't... It's so ridiculously good.
Yeah.
Which that means that the beads and the moving of all that's all just key, hand done.
Day in, day out, they come in. We have dailies where we review the latest versions of the animation.
Yeah.
And the animator will submit their work for the day, and it'll be early initially, and it's just, blocked. So it's maybe just a few. They usually do stepped, right?
Sure.
So it goes from this, and then it's instantly this, and it's instantly this.
Yeah.
But that helps you almost more.
It's the key frames of the motion.
It's more distinct because you get to see where it's going to be going, but it takes way less work, right? It's going to go from this to this really nice shape, which they spend time on, and to this really nice shape. And once they've identified that, it's then less work to do all that work and then realize you need to change all the work versus knowing where the key moments are. And they do a wonderful job with that. And I remember this shot, like they were working through exactly how he was doing this. And our animation supervisor on these projects, Hunter Grant, is always really good at just like giving him phenomenal notes on like the physics and the weight and all that stuff. So
because that's the one thing that I'm gonna go back and forth because you guys are sort of two parts of this, but two halves of the same like movie storytelling whole here. Is that the amount of not motion captured stuff. I mean, I thought part of this was motion capture, and you shut me down. It wasn't. It's all. That's why I wanted to make sure we're on the same page that it's all key animated.
As of right now, in-game cinematics, as it pertains to World of Warcraft, we have not used motion capture driven by actors for anything that we've made.
That's so ridiculous. Because obviously the hyper realistic, but they've done motion, the facial captures and stuff like that for those.
We saw in Faces of War that they're using facial, scanning technology to try to acquire what it is. And that's really used when it's appropriate, right? They felt really good about this actor and how it was going to bring Anduin, but that's still used on a as needed basis, right? Like obviously, there's not going to be someone who looks exactly like Saurfang out there in order to scan and performance capture. So,
oh well, yeah,
you could
figure it out. Yeah, maybe find it, but that's the biggest thing. I think one of the big separations between the hyper realistic ones and then the in-game cinematics that you guys are doing, because that there's a different level of actual, almost just key frame by frame work that has to go into making these look so just life. And again, you tricked me. I thought you guys finally did, because there's stuff in it we'll get into later on that looks like you body captured something and nothing.
What happened? We were bringing supplies to the war front, just like all the other times.
Can we talk about how you, and I brought this up before and we've talked about this in like Illidan cinematics and the stuff in the recent ones, and how you lead characters, and I brought this up with Mark too. Was it a conscious decision to have the next frame that you are fading into? Because usually a crossfade in like a really dramatic piece is like very rarely used, 'cause it's kind of like...
It's a passage of time.
Right.
If you use correctly, it's a passage of time.
Okay, there you go.
When you use it when it's not a passage of time, it's kind of awkward.
It's jarring, yeah.
But there's times where it's appropriate, right? It all has to be done but to temperature, but it has an inherent language, and the inherent language is sometime later.
Or in this case, draw it out.
Sometime in the past, right?
But not even just the fade, but you structured the next shot
Just like
to lead. You're looking at, what's this troll's name?
His name is Tezcar.
Tezcar.
Yeah.
You lead with your eyes, and you're watching the eyes, and you're probably watching his mouth because his crazy awesome troll tusks, right? But the actual path in the valley that you made here, and the focal point to keep the viewer looking here, is where we're also looking here.
Absolutely.
You didn't change anything crazy, and it really felt like a very simple and really elegant fade, because these are difficult, right?
Oh, no,
crossfades.
of course. The phenomenon you're talking about is actually called eye trace, right?
Okay.
And it's a directorial phenomenon where you want to make sure that from shot to shot, the eye doesn't have to jump a quadrant so hard. It usually is more important during action scenes.
Sure.
Because if something really important happened in the upper left third, and then on a cut it's the lower right third, and on a cut it's the upper left third. So instead of just composition or just flow, there's this like you want to make sure that whatever you cut to has some interest in the same level. That's called eye trace.
That's what I gave Mark the accolades for that in the scene where it cuts to the inside of the jail cell in Lost Honor.
Right.
And you watch Anduin's eyes, so you're watching the actor's eyes, and where he's looking, and then when it cuts to the reverse, you look at the bed to the pole that blocks Saurfang into the other side, you miss it until the rustle.
Until the shift.
Until the shift. So that the eye trace stuff there, different versions. This is totally different version than the Anduin and Saurfang one.
Yeah.
But it's the same, I don't know how. It's such a simple little thing, and Mark downplays it. Like, it's all these things we practice and we learn over time, and just kind of becomes second nature. But it has to be a conscious decision at some point to learn and know what you're doing with this.
Yes.
So,
and luckily at Blizzard we work with so many talented individuals that even when we lapse for 1 second, there's someone right there going, "Hey,"
and
it's really nice.
Yeah, that's
really
huge.
Nice.
And that brings me to the lighting and the other simulation I was going over. And this was a big topic of talking about with Lost Honor. And with this and the lighting, this was something that's kind of new, I guess. This is what I asked you yesterday to sort of prep for this. These lights are in your theater. These are not now cards, is what you call them. They're actually simulated lights that work with everything. They're not.
Well, specifically the torch element.
Right.
The torch element is actually a fire simulation.
Right.
Which can be sometimes very tricky because WoW's art style is so painterly, and in game we're so familiar with it being painterly, while simulations by their very nature are meant to create incredibly complex imagery.
Yeah.
And so finding the right middle ground where even though it's simulated fire, it still lives within the Warcraft visual aesthetic.
No, it drew my eye immediately because I was like, I've never seen fire look that good in the game before. Because usually it's like you'll put the fire graphic that's from World of Warcraft in it, and you res it up and make it look pretty, but then you just card the light into it and make it sort of live where it's supposed to live and how it's supposed to be dynamically in this section of the shot. But this looks really good.
And really the actual lighting tech on the engine side hasn't changed since 6.2, I think.
Oh gosh, really?
That was when Vertex per pixel lighting. I think it was in the patch notes. It was like we added per pixel lighting, and you could see the difference if an Omni light was in a scene, the way that it would affect everything around it.
Yeah.
And suddenly it was really, really, really nice and soft. And so this is just an example of one of the reasons I think you're picking up the lighting here is because not many environments in World of Warcraft are dark.
Well,
which means you don't see Omni lights playing in a dark space.
Did you read the notes that I didn't make that are in my head right now? Or are we just on the same page?
And so because it's dark, when you move an Omni light through the scene, it might look like something you've never seen before, but really it's something that WoW could do. It's just that most of the zones, because of WoW's kind of more bright, more brilliant, more painterly style, it never gets this dark. And the reason we got so dark here is because that was literally part of the story.
Yeah.
The unnatural darkness that falls upon Darkshore.
Yeah.
So not only were we given permission to go dark, it was important to the story.
Yeah. And I want to make that clarification because we talked about this when we were sort of prepping the interview yesterday, is that this is dark lit scenery, basically. Versus the Jaina Thros Catherine cinematic, which is the absence of any background or lighting, because the characters are just fully lit.
Those are well lit characters with just absence of background, right? So that's not the same in terms of dark versus light. Yeah.
And they're very different styles too. One is a different challenge than the other, and then and going from that one to this one, which one would you say was the more challenging aspect? Because I know that Catherine cinematic with Jaina was probably the first time everything that's ever happened with World of Warcraft, that kind of machinima storytelling, that cinematic stuff. So, I mean, I thought it was amazing because it's just that the stark visuals. It's been done in movies before, like those moments where you see nothing.
Absolutely.
But
I think from a technical point of view, the Realm of Thros wasn't super challenging on a bar graph, right? Of course, each movie has its own individual challenges, and they take a lot of work and effort to make them look correct. But I don't think it was inherently any more challenging than anything else we've done, just because the style was pretty Spartan, right?
Okay.
There wasn't a lot of environment, which also takes a lot of work. So less environment means less work. And the lighting style, once established, our lighting artists are just incredible at their job. And so once they've established the look, and they start propagating the look throughout the scenes, and it was all kind of blown out, and the highlights were kind of surreally bright, and they were kind of faded. And you don't really notice it so much until Catherine's right next to Jaina, and you can see just how
Jaina's faded out.
Just how faded out Jaina is versus Catherine's colors. That was all deliberate design decisions, but it was just a punchy look, and it was well established and it was well understood.
Okay.
What's more challenging usually is when the look you're going for isn't established, isn't well understood, and you spend a lot of time exploring. So we had to find the right values in here to how dark do we go? How dark can we go before it starts to look too dark even for World of Warcraft, or too dark for making it get on the internet and hoping that people don't have monitors that cause it to then double dark.
Oh, well, I brought that up. I watched, to prep these yesterday back at the house, I watched this on both my laptop and just a large television we have at the house on the mantle, and the brightness and the way that the television rendered everything through the HDMI cable, I could see everything. It looked awkward,
a little lifted.
It was unnaturally digitally lifted. Yeah. So this, and comparing it to how my laptop looks, and then how it looked on the actual screen projections, which that also is a whole other topic of how you get that fine-tuned.
Let's not go down the realm of color space. It's literally a science that people have been trying to perfect for 100 years. So that's another time.
That's a whole thing, because then you're gonna say it's gonna look good when you project it up there or not? Do we have to actually? Yeah. Did you make a different version for the live reveal than this one?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. That makes complete sense. Yeah, absolutely true. Because this is just gonna be a compressed 1080p version on YouTube, so it's gonna even lose some of that. So I would even love. That's why I told Mark I would love to watch those cinematics like in your proofing room with like the actual real sound system set up and a real to the T like fine tuned like
color tuned
monitors, stuff like that. Yeah.
Awesome.
That would be ridiculous to see what your finished product look like versus what
Sure.
But that brings next up that these are all 30 FPS now, right? Your IGCs.
Oh, we've been doing 30 FPS in the IGCs since Miss of Pandaria. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I actually brought up that I would love to see like a filmed version of like the actual hyper-realistic ones at 24. I wonder if that would be a neat thing to put out in. I don't know where they would exist, but 30 FPS has that extra smoothness, right?
Oh, the hyper-real ones are at 24.
Oh, they are 24?
Yeah. The in-game games at 30, hyper-real's at 24.
Mark was not sure if they were rendered out at either one for like this, for like on YouTube and whatever.
You're getting into like 3.2 pull down and whatnot.
Yeah.
But they're actually made at 24.
Okay, those are made at 24.
Yeah, for sure.
That's why they look weird on the TV, because it did like that fake 60 FPS. Like, ooh, it looked kind of funny.
That has to do with the television. If your television's set for motion interpolation, it does that. Like suddenly it looks a little
making extra frames.
Daytime soap opera, because it's literally doing math to try to create more frames to make it.
Hobbit high frame rate, which was neat for action, but when it was just talking dialogue scenes, you're like, yeah, okay, but 30 then. And then
Supplies to our soldiers by dawn.
do all these characters actually? Do you name all your actors in these pieces? Like, do all these?
Usually, anyone who has a speaking role has.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of like Hollywood, right? Like,
Okay.
You get credited when you're speaking, but usually extras, unless they're prominently featured to be someone specific.
Okay.
They're not all named. It was just Tezkar, our commander at the
Getting
front.
supplies to our
Right.
soldiers by dawn.
Well, there's some kerfuffle that I've been hearing about that this cinematic talks about how it's just like the Archdruid, so powerful, and he's being shown this violent, awesome stage finally for the first time in forever, but he's just killing like grunts. But I think it's more about the message he's sending than who he's fighting against.
It's more about the
anyway.
message. It's more about like what's going on in Darkshore, right? We enter here, clearly the Horde has taken Darkshore, right? They're occupying Darkshore. When you occupy territory, you have to have supply lines.
Yep.
And when you have supply lines, they are vulnerable to attack, right? And so before there's any major onslaught, the whole idea is that this is the first strike that's made.
Yeah.
Right. So they don't know what's coming. They're just doing their job, right? And yes, it's not meant to be like, oh, okay, look. No, it's the message of they're coming for you. And the whole owl arrives, of course. Tyrande uses her owl for battle visibility.
Yeah, well, her sentinel, she can see through it.
Exactly.
Right? So,
And so the moment that's there, they've been found. Right?
This is I would have to like record this and then frame by frame it to see like how few frames the sentinel actually flies by.
Yeah.
I didn't notice it when I was watching on the floor.
Yeah. It's just a hint.
I heard the sound.
It's just a hint of light.
Yeah, you heard the sound.
It's supposed to be sound because that's what he heard, right?
Yeah.
He's like, what? What was
Yeah,
that?
the troll would have noticed that for
Right.
sure, or the elf. They definitely would have seen it. And they both react. Look at the orcs react to him.
Yeah, because he's throwing up the stop signal.
Yeah, exactly. But it's funny. Little motions there.
And the bird comes in, just perches.
No, I geeked because I was like, her sentinel doesn't look like that normally.
It's been brought up to.
Well, this is Night Warrior Tyrande at this point, and we don't get that cinematic until the story, and we get that on live.
Precisely.
So we don't know how all that plays out, but that's why when this, because usually her sentinel is like that greenish, that
It's a
palish
little bit more
green.
ghostly, right?
Yeah,
but
and this is a little different than that.
character updates, something
Yeah,
that
sure.
in the past it's been like, but it changes. Of course, people are now almost used to the fact that yesterday we saw this character looking like this, and an update comes along, and now they look like this. That's just the natural progression of the game, as it
of
has
course.
to be updated. And definitely, the owl was part of the kit with the Night Warrior Tyrande.
Yeah, no, it's really, really cool. And then, of course, now for lighting the owl, how do you light this 3D object to have its own like bioluminescence? Because you're not casting light on the owl; it's its own light source.
Right? It's self-illuminated.
Okay.
There's just parameters that can usually be set for an object to be self-illuminated, and then a lot of the effect that you're seeing here is done by the composite artist, where they just use layering to create glows and manage their color values, and they're really good at that.
A little bit,
Just a
I
little
would
bit.
say. this scene, once he reels back, because I always like the little motions you hide, either in eye tells or in like little bit of background action. It's not the foreground, it's not the troll, it's how the blood elf reacts. How she. It's so few frames where she raises her shield.
It's just like
she's
something might be coming.
Yeah.
And you interrupt the action.
Well, this is actually. I wonder if I can I
Catch the frame?
Well, yeah, because you can frame by frame.
Oh, you can?
Yeah, you can frame by frame.
Here it comes.
I can't frame by frame on the hyper realistic. They don't have the keyframes for
Interesting.
YouTube, but you can frame by frame. Yeah. You had to animate that one frame of her getting bear hugged.
And in fact, we loved this frame so much that you can tell the motion blur that is used in all high speed usually because it makes it look better. Otherwise, it's stuttering.
I mean, it's like 6 frames.
Right. But we actually elected to make sure that there wasn't as much motion blur affecting her face to make sure that frame actually showed her expression. If we had used the default setting, it would have just been a streak. Right?
It also gives... I like that it shows where the movement is because with the power of Malfurion charging into her, her feet came off the ground first and her head stays in the same spot.
Like it was a body blow.
Yeah,
right?
It was just like a hip check off the ground. Yes,
you know.
Absolutely. Like she just gets completely decked.
What is it?
But her eyes too. And it's weird when like you see an elf. Like she has like the raised eyebrow like concerned look. Just for and again, it's you hiding emotion in just a few frames because it's gone. Yeah. It's those little frame moments.
Eye shapes.
Eye shapes.
Eye shapes do so many things. It's amazing.
And here she goes. So she had a line. Did she have a name?
If she did, I can't recall right now.
But yeah, how many frames is Malfurion in the shot here?
I think we referred to her as the healer, because the healer always gets taken out first.
Oh, I wasn't expecting that.
It's like, why did you go after the blood elf first, dude? It's PvP. You have to go after the healer first.
And the fact that she gets basically just almost one shot
before she can
bubble,
just like bam, crit for 1,000,000.
I mean, basically, our numbers are squished right now. We have not much health for that. We don't have health for that right now, too.
Yeah.
He's like it's like 8 frames that he's in the shot. Yeah, and the reaction, and you even again little things that you don't notice unless you frame by frame it that you animated his freaking hair waving.
They're really good at that. That's usually considered second stage animation.
Yeah,
they'll avoid the hair, right? Because the hair's a lot of work.
Yeah.
But they'll make sure that the shot is done with the action, and once that's done, they go into what is usually second stage cleanup. And second stage cleanup is anything dangling,
right?
Any hair, that's what they do after they know that they won't have to change it later.
So again, when watching and you're looking at this through this camera, so you can't really always see it. But watching this frame by frame, you don't actually notice the second shot of Malfurion's maw here. That is 4 frames, like 1, 2, 3, 4,
like
5,
frames.
6, 7, 8.
It's 8 frames. We work on these a lot.
Yeah, okay. Literally 8 frames. Oh my gosh, yeah. Can we talk about how you had to make A, bare form Malfurion, and B, he has engraved teeth? These little details, and again, 8 frames of this detail, and it's that important.
Yeah. Now, cinematics, or in-game cinematics, are always a wonderful opportunity to make sure that any asset that we want to include in the in-game cinematics gets their due love.
Right.
And when this movie first came up, and we knew that Malfurion bear form would be heavily featured, we definitely went to the Warcraft team and we talked to Chris Robinson, their art director, about we're going to be using Malfurion bear form, and it begat the
doesn't exist in the game.
It began the conversation. We discussed how we were using them and what we needed for our needs, and he actually had his artists then concept this. And send us it when they were done.
Oh, really?
So yeah, the Warcraft team actually made.
So Chris made a new
Malfurion bear because we were using it here. We asked them. We told them what we needed. They made the bear. They gave it back.
Awesome.
We upped it. We up-resed it for the cinematic, and went forward. So it's very, very collaborative, very back and forth. But it benefits us both, right?
Yeah,
because now they have it for the game too.
Oh, well, hopefully they use it in the game now too.
Yeah, of course.
That would be awesome. It's the first time I think we've ever seen Malfurion in bear form ever.
Can't say that for certain.
I don't think he was ever in bear form in Warcraft 3.
Yeah.
If it was just a regular bear, so this is you'd made it brand new first time in Warcraft.
The unique Malfurion bear form, yeah.
Period. Like that's the first, because there's all the little things that you.
Well, also since the beginning of WoW, even druids didn't have unique bear forms, and we've seen a lot of those coming along. So it's kind of an expectation these days that it should be unique to Malfurion, and not just everyone else's bear form.
These shots, and again, I put my brightness on my laptop a little up so we can actually see them, but just how short the frames happen. Poor Kodo.
Well, the hope here was that, and I've actually heard that some people were feeling this way, is that you don't know what's tearing them apart.
Yeah, at first you don't. I didn't know it was Malfurion.
If it was any slower, you'd be able to register the bear.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
And we wanted it to be just fast enough that you saw it, but not slow enough that you can register what it is.
Yep.
Because that's the terrifying thing. When you don't know what's ripping your people limb from limb around you.
I didn't know it was Malfurion. Yeah. The 3-hit. You can't even hit the guy once.
1, 2, 3.
It's a little bit of stooges going on there.
Oh, but he's just trying to protect the payload, right? He's a commander. No, seriously.
He's trying to protect the payload.
He's a commander. His number one mission was to secure that thing. So he actually moved into action to try to make sure that the payload didn't, and he got romped because that thing is a angry critter at this moment.
Yep. Yeah, I don't really remember what I was thinking when I first saw it, because I think, like, obviously we knew the Night Warrior stuff was coming in. So I thought it was like a shade or something, because we don't know how Toronto's going to actually act in the game with her newfound Elune powers or whatever. So I was thinking it was kind of like a Warden when they do that shade out, like Miapow does or whatever. I thought it was one of like those.
Right.
And like the lights we were seeing, the purple on his face, his tattoos, were more of like the streaks.
Yeah, okay. I hear you.
That's what I thought it was.
That's
like
good.
that.
Misdirect is great.
Absolutely true. Until, of course...
Until Kodo, and then the Scream, and
then this.
Look how big that bear is.
That's a big bear.
That's a big bear.
That's a really big bear. I like how he actually has his, like... Big ponytail is part of his back hair.
Braided into the back of the bear.
Yep. Yeah, that was a huge reveal in that turn.
I see.
It's a beautiful model.
I see you.
He looks really, really cool. He's got the Elune, and he's got like the heraldry and the stuff, and the tattoos on him.
These are actually the things that are in his beard. He's standing there, and there's these ringlets.
Oh, like the
down here. There's ringlets here.
Oh,
right, and they're still on it, right under his chin when he's in bear form.
Yeah, so I put, and this is the perspective, and you bring up that's a big bear, but like we have the size models in the community of how big these characters are in relation to each other, and orcs are like 7-8 foot tall humanoid kind of things, like 7-ish foot. 6.5, 7 foot tall?
They're 6.5.
Yeah, 6.5 foot. There you go.
But that's usually because of their hunch, right?
Yeah, sure.
If they stood up, they'd probably maybe hit 7.
Yeah. But it's also armor and just how big the model is, and that shows you just how big. We know how big bears are,
right?
But you had to make sure you had the right size comparison. How big should Malfurion even be in this form? He's not a normal bear.
Yeah.
So
I think in all filmmaking, there's usually some wiggle room on wanting to push for the sake of composition, sake of weighting, right?
Yeah.
And while yes, absolutely canonically he would be, we do want to make sure that he looks absolutely physically intimidating, and that it was definitely the top thing on our list. WoW scale is a very tricky beast, right?
Sure.
And I think we've talked about this on behind the scenes before, where it's just like when you go to Dalaran and you're standing next to a table and the table's like way taller than you, for instance, right?
Yeah.
Like. And that's intended because the game space needs to feel immersive and big and awesome. But when you start really getting into the nitty gritty of how big characters are, and you're standing next to it, like, but that's game. And so between the game space and the fantasy space and the world space, the scale just needs to feel correct, I guess is what I'm saying.
Oh, I didn't notice. I looked at this. He actually has the roots starting.
The roots are starting. That's why he can't run away, right? Like, why is he just lumbering toward him? No, the roots have him by the leg, and he's screaming because he can't escape already.
Yeah. I like the dolly push, by the way.
It was handheld, right? It looked over and kind of...
Oh, I guess it is handheld. Oh, it's a zoom then.
Yeah.
It's not technically a dolly push, yeah.
It's a zoom for sure.
I can't wait to see that model in game. It's going to be so good. Yeah. That reaction face. How do you do... What kind of composition goes into play from turning a character from one form to another and making it actually look as... I mean, it's hidden in the light from the effect, but what did you guys have to do to make this
So the great thing about this effect, I'm glad we get to talk about it.
Actually, it's kind of like it's a portal. You're hiding it like a portal into the bear. You have to frame by frame this to look at it.
Right.
But,
But this effect specifically, a lot of times if something was, say, established first in the high-fidelity CGI pipeline,
okay.
then when we go in-game, we want it to match more of an in-game style, right? We want the in-game to feel like in-game effects versus, like, if it transformed in pre-render, you would imagine it would be some sort of crazy werewolf transformation that would be incredibly hyper-realistic, right?
Sure.
Actually, we went back to the first World of Warcraft cinematic. And the night elf was running through the woods.
Oh, the night elf was running through the woods,
right?
and she just like pops in.
And so when
cat form?
and so when you're cutting this together later, you can grab the video and like lay it over. But she's running, and she jumps, and there's this light that goes over the body, and she just immediately becomes the cat and lands. And we used that.
You went back like 15 years.
Yeah, we used that and said, you know what? There's an
That's
establishment in the CGI pipeline that we can easily achieve in the in-game effect,
Wow.
and now they're unified, right? Both her and Malfurion look just like they just shapeshift into the new form. So that's where we got the inspiration for doing this.
It literally actually
It goes from the eyes.
and it actually comes out of like the tattoos.
Yep.
Where like the particles come out of the tattoos.
Rolls
and
over the face.
Rolls over the face.
Reveals
into the
his
shoulder.
head was where his head was.
Yeah, because he's looking up.
Right.
His bear is going up. Yep. And then
Revealing the rising Malfurion.
this is the first time we've seen Malfurion actually be a badass in so long. And as I play a panda now, because Fem Panda, obviously, all day, right? Because you got to play
All day, every day.
But my original character in World of Warcraft was a purple-haired male night elf druid.
Perfect.
So this moment, for me at least, because I've always had that back end, and I still have the original character that killed everything in up to. We didn't kill KT 40 man, but I got the whole Dreamwalker set. So hey, but this seeing Shondo,
Right.
that has basically been like this weird pacifist like diplomat for so long, since the beginning of World of Warcraft. Everything he's done, like even the Fireland stuff, he was just there kind of being a cheerleader, summoning some treants or stopping the Darkshore tornado thing, or just he's kind of like this really blasé kind of guy. And I want to give you that moment. You pitched this
Yeah.
because you wanted to do something very specific with the Night Elves.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because going back to when we were pitching this long before Battle for Azeroth had come out. We were pitching this before Sylvanas Warbringers went live. We were before Old Soldier, before any of that, right? So the audience had not even yet had the reaction to the burning of Teldrassil.
Oh, right. Wow. Okay.
But as we've discussed in some other mediums, that the burning of Teldrassil was very much supposed to do what it did.
Yeah.
And that's
make people angry.
and ignite
Yeah.
a war, right?
Absolutely.
And it had to be big. It had to not be something that some people could objectively say, you know what, it wasn't that bad. I don't want to go to war, right? It had to be something so absolutely war inspiring.
Right.
And because of that, we knew, right? We knew that I was going to hurt.
Yeah.
In a narrative sense, right? And we immediately were thinking about how the next chapter.
Yeah.
Right. The Night Elves specifically were going to feel like that took us off guard. We were not, we were unprepared for the assault that Sylvanas bring. It was devastating all the way down to our core. And where are we going to feel in the next chapter point? And so I came in. Alex had asked us to investigate what this teaser for this patch would be, and he wanted it to be the Night Elves coming to Darkshore. But that was like it. That was like the container by which we were going to develop this film. And that's when I started seeing that, like, I feel like the Night Elves are going to be coming back for a vengeance, right? With a profound vengeance.
In Warcraft 3, they were just this amazing, fierce warrior, imbued magic.
Terrifying.
Yeah, they were really,
They were terrifying,
Yeah,
and
it's a good word
when
for it.
they were in their element, right? Barbaric is not the right word, right? Because they were elegant, but the ferocity of which they personified, when you're in their territory,
right,
and the lights go out, you should be afraid.
I mean,
and that was definitely how we approached this film.
Yeah,
right?
there was a conversation that came up when I was doing the review of this last night, sort of prepping, that from like the Horde standpoint, and I have a lot of Horde people that play, Horde viewers that are at my house right now for BlizzCon, and they brought this up to me. A lot of Alliance characters, a lot of our heroes as Alliance players are kind of all like gods and demigods in power compared to this like orcs and Tauren, right? And like when one of our biggest leaders is the Archdruid, and Malfurion's past, his history, his wars, his accolades, all this kind of stuff is hard to like narrate to him not being like this superhero like Superman, like he can do everything he wants because he obviously has to be has vulnerabilities.
Sure.
But seeing him sort of get like tossed around in the opening stuff and the post stuff with the burning of Teldrassil that we witnessed in game, it was a little bit lackluster from like the player perspective.
Sure.
But this turn and the stage that you set and that expectation of him basically saying that this is the straw after like a decade since the events of Warcraft 3, even probably longer than that, I think, in game right now, timeline-wise.
You know, perhaps they had been pacifist for this long, right?
Right, it's too long.
And again, they got taken off guard.
He was asleep for a long time too, I guess.
Yeah, no, but the whole meta going on here is that you poked the bear.
Literally.
You literally poked the bear, and for the first time, as we've said, since Warcraft 3, their true face.
Yeah.
The one we haven't seen since the Night Elf armies of the Sentinels of the Warcraft 3 encounter. They show that again.
Yeah.
And we wanted it to be terrifying, and the whole setting of Darkshore, the whole setting of just like the terrible in fact, the name Terror of Darkshore was the name of the pitch, because Malfurion is the terror of Darkshore now, right? Everyone in the Horde army is probably talking about like, dude, you better not go out there by yourself because this thing is going to just tear you limb from limb.
I really hope that the game team and the designers pull that through and not just have him like being a talking head and like standing around a lot. I hope we see what you've made here and translate that into the game engine, because fighting alongside a hero like that only happens so often.
Right.
And I think this is one of the oldest characters that we currently have in the game that isn't dead or like disposed of in some different way.
One of the precious original Warcraft 3 characters among Jaina.
Yep.
Among
and Jaina had her moment. She's had her moment, right?
Yes.
Her moment was incredible, and that built up over the last 15 years.
It feels like we are in a time where these Warcraft 3 characters all are coming back into relevance.
Yeah.
So
even Arthas. It's a little invincible for you. David, PR guy over there, starts laughing and losing it.
It's covered. We're licensed for that.
Yeah.
that's our music.
Yeah.
That's our music.
I like that. I was framing through this as I'm going to let it play for a little while now so we can go talk about more stuff. I like how his right hand, which I guess was controlling the entangling roots, you kept that's what's holding the roots. I want to talk about how actually violent this is and how violent this is for World of Warcraft. Because you had to animate the fact that A, he's being pulled into the ground coffin, and B, you animated his eyes as he's getting suffocated. Obviously, it only sits for so many frames to illustrate like that violence, but you had to hit that note, that frame.
Terrifying.
That's pretty up there for. I mean, World of Warcraft obviously isn't like a rated R game or anything like that, but you have moments where this happens. But this is the first time in a while we've seen this since I think Varian exploded.
Yeah. No, this was kind of This was the core utilitarian shot of this movie, and it's because if you come into a pitch called Terror of Darkshore,
right,
that literally means that it can't just be. We're too familiar with players that just fight.
Yeah.
And one wins, right? That's not terrifying.
No.
We've seen it all day long.
Right.
So what could we do that actually would unnerve you?
Yeah.
Right? And what better than for a druid? Right?
Yeah.
Use the entangling roots that we're all familiar with. But usually they just grab your feet, right? Like,
my feet.
Well, what about the arc druid version of that?
Yeah.
Right?
He pulls him into the core of the earth.
He literally just swallows him, right? And of course, the terror he expressed, you then feel.
Yeah.
And now we've succeeded in making like, oh, and not only that, but the druids, they're here to win it, right? They're not necessarily all about the rules of engagement right here. We're here to win, right?
Yeah.
So
no, it's just like there's a because I think there's always these points I think that you're in the IGCs that you've made that you always go too little too far. You gotta pull it back. There was a lot of that with the Illidan smirk, which that came up before.
Sure.
That was
he looked really smirky, and then had to bring it back into.
He was already there. He closed that distance. That's some distance, and it's right to that. The editing on this, by the way, and that how crisp everything is.
Yeah. We felt it was important for Tezcar to reach for the blade and try. He's trying to save him because he's we imagine that he's a well-trained commander, right? Just being outmatched physically right now, right?
They're not going to hear this in the recording here. You have to go back. Again, this is a terrible way to watch this. I didn't preface this, actually, because Terran kind of ruined my intro. It's fine. Is that... Go back and listen to this with headphones on, and in almost every line of dialogue, and this had to be a conscious decision that you guys did the sound team, and you probably know what I'm going to talk about. Every line of dialogue that Malfurion says in this entire piece, there are animal noises, there are bear and cat roars sort of built into his dialogue.
Yeah. Right there.
You hear the growl purr.
It's just his breathing.
But it's an animal. Yeah.
It's animal
Absolutely.
breathing. Right. And he's
Bad breathing.
And he's terrified.
Bad breathing. It's also the first time we've seen like any horde be like scared of anything Alliance. Well, outside of like war stuff.
We were trying to ride the line very, very, very carefully with him, right? We didn't want him to look like he's like, oh no, like no. You know, but to be someone who's literally like I'm doing my best to keep it cool, but this is actually really bad.
It's
right?
like it's the war stare down face.
It's the war stare down face. Yeah. We definitely never wanted this troll to feel like he was just flimsy or weak.
And he chose a really difficult model to do with the troll because of their facial structure.
Yeah, but even at the beginning, right? We didn't have him like that classic like shell shocked soldier.
Yeah, I know.
He was more so centering himself. Like this is a battle hardened individual who's seen stuff, but had never seen anything quite like this, right?
You also downturned his lip here, almost like in disgust when Malfurion talks.
Right. It's got night elf breath.
Well, also that. Working with the voice actor that plays Malfurion, it's the first time he's been so aggressive in a long time. Was it different to get him into the mindset to be like 15 years ago, that style of Malfurion, to get like that aggressive? Because he has to be like... And yeah, you see the halos here.
Yeah, they have a little bit of directionality.
But like, because the voice acting part is definitely a totally other art you have to get with. But yeah, you hear the bear in the background there, and the growl, and even in the throw,
And the sound designers had a field day with this.
Oh my goodness!
Between adding the growls and really doing amazing sound design on his vocal performance to give it more gravity, to give it more,
because Malfurion's just kind of been like this diplomat for so long.
He's always felt much more like a wizened,
Yeah, he's a grandfather.
An elder, right?
Yeah, he's giving you the good stories.
I'm giving you the elder advice. No. That's definitely Malfurion. But to see that same voice...
Yeah.
But it's a great shift, right?
Yeah.
We're going into this gear now.
And that's the transformation back.
Transformation into something else, and it's coming for him. Oh, it's a bird.
It's the bird form.
And the two of them.
I love the fact, because that geeked me out, because we haven't seen Malfurion in Toronto do, and this is almost kind of like a plea to fix a bit of whoops with the Legion story when Malfurion was taken by Xavius, and like the voice acting part of that, and like the Tyrande. I get where the direction was going with that, but I think it made the characters feel and their relationship kind of just like weak, I guess, at that time. And this shows, and this shot alone, and then the shot we're going to get to in a minute, of showing Malfurion and Tyrande being together in power again for the first time. Again, this is Warcraft 3.
Yep.
It's so ridiculous. The orc dialogue, so good. Is she the same actress that does like the base orc female?
I don't think
so.
so.
Or is she someone else?
She was someone we found just for this role. She did a wonderful job. In fact,
she's such a bitch. It's amazing.
Hey, be nice.
No, the orc is just her tone. She doesn't believe it at all. It's amazing.
But I do know this actress was both the orc and the elf.
Oh, okay.
Because one is just processed, right?
Sure, yeah.
And the other one was just her voice.
Right, yeah.
Right, and that was an extra, so we just had her pick up the extra line. But they sound so different. But
no, just her cadence.
She's very dismissive.
She's very...
And the faces even, right?
Absolutely.
Incredibly well animated. Well, he knows.
Oh.
He knows exactly how serious this is. And she's all like, whatever.
Yeah.
Because again, as we talked at the beginning, she has dealt with, ordinary night elves, probably her whole career defending, the Baron's fronts.
Right.
Never personally encountered Malfurion. But he has.
No, Nathanos has. Nathanos has.
He knows exactly who he's talking about.
Yeah, and Nathanos has been around for a long time. He's been around since Vanilla when he was a skeleton.
When going out to his farm and getting wrecked in Vanilla?
Yeah,
that was brutal.
No single night elf could do all that.
That, again, because he's looking past everything, and now and you still kept like the low Dutch angle, giving Nathanos the power in the frame, but the fact that he's concerned in a power frame,
it's a weird dynamic, right?
Yeah, because usually the power frame is Yeah, the power frame is usually that person is usually the confident one, the one that controls the scene. But you shifted the dynamic because
it's a shifted tone, and then boom,
and then that sound immediately into like that little bit of like what?
Mm-hmm. And now we're looking down on all three of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's a little bit. Yeah, you're a little bit down
compared to the previous shot.
Compared to the previous shot, for sure. This is gorgeous.
And there he is, or she. I'm really not sure.
I don't know if her sentinel has a gender or if she's literally a creature of magic.
Let's not worry about it. There they are.
That's fine. There they are. But that's Toronto staring at Nathanos for sure.
Yep. And then the wisps.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. All the little wisps pulling in, yeah.
Oh, there she is. So right from the beginning.
This ground for the Horde.
First time we've seen the tree since the actual burning cinematic.
Extinguished, right?
Actually extinguished.
And yet, this composition is designed that even if it's this burnt out husk,
right?
It's what we're fighting for.
Yeah.
Right. We're taking it. Even if you burn it, we're here to fight over this. This is ours. This is our homeland.
And you get half of the eclipsed Elune moon.
Yep.
It's the same moon from the Ysera cinematic.
Well, yeah, visually very, very similar, right? Like Elune has the power to do this. We've established that she does, and here it is again. She calls upon it. The unnatural dark falls upon Darkshore, and it gives the Night Elves a battle, enhancement. Yeah. Right. So
absolutely does.
Flip back to Rhonda. One really cool thing about this was right when these things are pitched, everyone's in their early phases of any given development.
Right.
So we were talking about this scene, and I remember nudging Alex and being like, dude, what would you think about getting an armor refresh for Tyrande? And it was so early that they hadn't even started like the Night Warrior. Because then the cinematics start a long back, right?
Of course.
And so they hadn't really established the visual aesthetic of the Night Warrior yet. But we were like, do you think we could get something to make sure that at the end here, when we finally see her, that there's like an enhancement, right? And Alex was immediately like, oh yeah, let me talk to the guys, right? And then within, however long it took, sent it over, and I saw this, and I was like,
yeah.
And suddenly this moment, this reveal was that much more profound as far as just like, I'm here, right? And she's
you're doing the low up Dutch angle kind of stuff,
and this is of course a callback to that classic Warcraft 3 image.
Yep, where they're standing side by side.
Where the male night elf, the female night elf are just standing right by side with the druid here.
But female in front.
Right, the female in front.
Right?
Female in front, because that's the night elf culture from Warcraft 3. Right?
They're the leaders.
The sentinels, the matriarchal society. And so she's at the forefront. Malfurion, who we just saw how powerful Malfurion is through this whole film.
Yep.
But he is clearly in a position of being second in command.
Yeah.
So if he was that wicked,
yep.
What does that by power of transference mean about how powerful she could be?
Yep.
Cinematically speaking.
Yeah. Because there's different power in the game space.
I don't want to get into the balance of the classes. I'm just saying, cinematically speaking, if he's second in command in this shot, right, then by proxy, we just saw what he can do. We're wondering what she's capable of doing.
Yep. And we'll find out. And there's going to be we get more in the game in the story space when we're playing through this to see this transition, because obviously this is the first time in this trailer we're going to see this in this form, but we get more in the game as we progress through this in 8.1. So
absolutely.
No, it's absolutely wild just how much stuff. And I geek out about any character changes. I mean, because I've designed all that stuff for Warcraft. It's like I have 4 or 5 different costumes that we were looking at for Tyrande, because she's been wearing the same thing for like a decade.
Yeah.
That same little dressy Priestess of Elune kind of thing. So this is the same filigree and like the gem inlaid kind of stuff.
But it's very much
armor.
Sentinel and Warden inspired.
Yeah.
Right? And Wardens are, as we know, are the keepers of vengeance. And while they were created very specifically, they're still, at their core, a night elf institution.
Yeah.
The concept of wielding vengeance as a weapon. And I felt that actually factored into this. In this was just my feeling in putting this story together. If they are capable of being empowered by vengeance, then that means they're more powerful after they lost Teldrassil than they were during the fight of Teldrassil. I'm like, huh.
Yeah.
It's interesting to think about.
We'll have to see. I always get, because I talked about this with Mark too, about like, well, because Anduin walks into the cage with the tiger, But who would win in a 1v1? Anduin or Saurfang? We'll never know because it's all these different quotients you can't even factor in whatever game space versus storytelling space. Power levels are very different. But yeah, this will be something to definitely see.
Oh, the music in this moment, of course, right?
Again, that's why I want these. I would love if these, all of them, from probably Warlords forward, any of the in-game machinimas, the IGCs, any of the hyper-realistic stuff, soundtracks, like where are those scores? Because there's some incredible music, and you can't always appreciate it by itself when there's everything else happening.
Sure.
If there's any dialogue or sound effects, stuff like that.
But in this moment specifically, do you recognize the cue, right? Go back a little bit more.
I mean, is that part of the Darnassian theme?
It's Night Song. So while
David.
so while Ysera's death was the opener of Night Song, it does the beginning of Night Song is this solo melody.
Oh no! If I played these like in sync, would it actually all fit together? Oh no!
And then once that finish, it goes into the main body of Night Song, and then it's that choral tone, right? And it's all Night Elf themed. When this movie was in its conceptual phase, I reached out to Neil Acree, because he was the one who told me to use Night Song for Ysera's death. Like, I came to him with the storyboards, and I said, look at this, right? You have the opportunity to do something incredible musically for this.
Yeah.
And instead of just being like, oh, let me get on, he said, have you considered Night Song? And it was a song that he had written for
He's
Cataclysm.
a robot. He's a robot alien.
For Cataclysm.
Yeah.
And so we pulled the Cataclysm soundtrack, and we grabbed Night Song, and we stuck it in, and it was flawless. And of course he revisited it and he expanded it and he made it much bigger and grander but it was at its core, it was this song that he put together for the Night Elves in Cataclysm.
Wow.
And then when this came around, I go back to Neil Acree and I say, I need a Night Song battle march.
Oh no.
and he said, I'm on it. And he delivered like he always does.
Props to actually animating and sticking in rigging, putting on something in a shot. Because normally, in this you can definitely do it, but picking up and interacting with things is normally super weird because both of them have different objects. So you got to make sure it sticks and lands and holds properly.
And intersections can be challenging. Yeah.
She puts on her helmet like a complete badass in this shot, and it fits and it works. Like little things. Like she even squeaks it on a little bit there.
Yeah. That was animated by Moonsung, who's been an animation lead for many of these projects, and he's a powerhouse in himself. So,
I think that one thing. Let me get here to wrap up because I think we're at about. Actually, I'm curious. What's my time right now? Oh, okay. Yeah, we're definitely there. I brought this up with Mark as well for team size. Mm-hmm. How many people are working on these products like the IGCs, because I think that puts a huge perspective on where they came from way back in the day,
right.
When it was you and 3 people, to now, because it's still a really small team and you have to make sure that all the accolades that need to go to them, know that they are doing something that's so incredibly over the top and ridiculously well polished, put together for such a small group. Because what I told Mark again is that there's ILM Weta style crazy stuff for 90-ish people. But what there's hundreds of people normally in those AAA big budget movies, and this, and we've seen lots of in-game cinematics and other companies and that, but these there's another interview that came out the other day, some headline that was that World of Warcraft in-game cinematics changing the face of how all this stuff works.
Right.
Because other games now have to go oh well, okay. The only game I'm thinking it's Witcher and Red Dead Redemption now have huge crews that are all about this and making cutscenes look this good in their game. Yeah. But that's not a little MMO.
Right.
World of Warcraft. Those games are worked on for 4 years just for those scenes.
Yes. Also an MMO that has been in live development for 14 years.
Yeah.
16 years given pre-development.
Sure.
It's always hard to answer the numbers factor.
Of course.
Just because they're loosey-goosey as far as it goes between the pre-production phases where storyboard artists and editors are working on it,
Right.
and writers, and then it moves from that into the pre-production phase where it's modelers and riggers and technical artists and the texture artists and whatnot, and then it moves from that into animation where suddenly the number of people goes up because there's a bunch of animators joined, and then after that it goes back down and it's just a few lighters, right? So creating an average across that, and then how long, it's like, but if I was to just wager, roughly maybe a dozen to 20 people average at any given time working on these things over the course of
What the
a few
hell?
weeks, right?
What the heck,
But
dang.
it jumps up and down, right?
Yeah.
But still, at 12, I'd say is the core group, and then it expands when the animators join, because the animators work on these and the other ones.
Right.
Because it's the same art form, whether it's in-game or pre-run or whatnot, they're driving the characters.
Yeah.
They're not a separate staff for our cinematics team.
So ridiculous.
But then they go back to their other projects, and then we go back into our in-game pipeline, which again, it's a little bit more Spartan because we're working with the game engine, and so it doesn't have to be as large of a crew. So it's pretty well contained. It's a high-functioning team that makes a lot of content with what they do.
And you're half a year ahead from this point right now, I'd imagine in some regard.
Always
on projects.
working on the next thing.
Of course.
Always working on the next thing.
I mean, and I taglined it again to Mark in the previous part about how we're about to see, as you're doing right now with the Night Elves and these pivotal Warcraft 3 characters, we're about to experience and meet in a full-fledged form after that little in-game real-time cutscene that we had in Legion, Queen Azara, who has been around for so long, and the players really haven't met her in this capacity yet.
Right.
So I can't even imagine what you guys have in store for that, because Mark laughed when I asked, are you making any more hyper-realistic stuff for BFA?
He would.
Of course.
He'd laugh.
And then, obviously, we can expect more art to come out of your team like this, too, but I just can't imagine. That's a huge character.
That's
And
right.
you've done dragons and, aspects and, Old God and stuff before and all this other stuff, but she's been in this whisper of the game for years, Queen Azara, ever since Cataclysm. Back in the day. It's like, the zeitgeist of understanding what she's going to be for players is a huge monolithic thing. So I can't even imagine
Huge
what
expectations.
Yeah.
But they've already been well established, I feel, in the Ashara Warbringers.
Well, the Warbringer was insane.
Right.
Oh, it was so good.
It broke a lot of the ground for
Yeah.
how we expect her to talk, to sound.
Yeah.
Right. So a lot of the groundwork has been laid for that, I think.
Well, but that was also, Warbringer's Azara was like 10,000 years ago Azara. It's a different Azara than the one we're about to see in like a few months.
Sure.
So, how... I don't even know.
It'll be coming down the pike.
Yeah,
whatever that may be.
Oh, man. But thank you for sitting down and walking through this whole thing with me in a... we could have done geeky stuff like, director of photography kind of thing.
We could
or
have done
like
this
lighting
for like
stuff.
8 hours.
Oh,
so
absolutely
it's,
true.
It's just...
I kind of wanted to bounce back and forth between both of those things.
Sure.
Because there is a very... even looking at this frame right now, you can look at the difference in just how you guys chose the lighting and the wisp lighting and the blue, and it's the Elune light versus
Red
like this...
versus blue.
Yeah, well, also
Red versus blue.
The red is very oppressed in this shot.
It's shrinking, right?
Even the way the smoke is, it's combing over.
I'm coming for you like a wave.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And that's a conscious decision. These are all painted. You make these on purpose.
Yep.
Like, I'm not talking out of my butt what I'm saying. Like, these are things that are consciously made to make, I don't know. That's so ridiculous. Even you put the one tree to split the frame almost directly in the middle. It's a little bit off.
It's a battlefield.
But yeah, it's a battlefield.
Left side, right side.
Yep, red versus blue.
Delineation.
Horde versus Alliance.
Horde versus Alliance. Awesome.
Oh man. Terran, my friend.
It's been a
Thank you
pleasure.
very much.
Hopefully we can do this again sometime.
Absolutely true. I have no real way to end these. I'm just gonna put the title card here now, Adam. Put the thing you put when you close the video out.
Wrap it up.
Do one of those
take us
things.
home.
Yeah, take us home.
Take care.
Oh my goodness.
Cool.